In 2009 there was a very interesting exhibition on Byzantium at the Royal Academy of Arts in London. The Byzantine Empire succeeded the Roman Empire when Emperor Constantine moved his capital from Rome to this eastern promontory in 330 AD, and it ruled a constantly changing area for 1,000 years, finally ending when the Ottoman Turks invaded in 1453. The former settlement had been called Byzantium, but Constantine renamed it Nova Roma, New Rome. However, for some reason this name never stuck, and the city came to be called Constantinople. It was Christian, as Constantine had made this the state religion, though there is some doubt as to his total conversion, as a coin of his was found bearing the Chi Rho Christian symbol on one side and Sol Invictus on the back. However, his successors were certainly Christian, and this was the origin of the church we know as the Orthodox Church. In 1453 the city became Muslim, and the name was changed to Istanbul. There were many interesting exhibits illustrating life in Constantinople and the empire over this very long period, at court, at home and in church. One early example was a Roman mosaic pavement found in Thebes in Egypt, depicting the months of the year in human form. Another interesting one was the Antioch chalice, which is one of the contenders for the Holy Grail, although when I dowsed it asking if Jesus had held it, the answer seemed to be no. However, as a lay hunter, it was the churches in the city which revealed something amazing. There was a map on display which showed all the churches in Constantinople in 1200. It was fascinating to find that when they were aligned, they seemed to form an isosceles triangle of the same proportions of the Great Pyramid, with base angles about 52 degrees. The base of the triangle seems to run due east-west. The eastern side first goes through three churches quite close to each other in alignment: Christ of Cora, St. Mary Pamakaristos, and St. John in Petra. Then the Forum and Arch of Theodosius. The western one goes through Christ Euergetes, the Church of the Holy Apostles, runs parallel with the Wall of Constantine, and goes to St. John of Studius, running along the road leading to the Golden Gate. The Church of the Holy Apostles was the second most important church in Constantinople, a large mausoleum church where emperors and other dignitaries were buried, as well as allegedly relics of Saints Luke, Andrew and Timothy. The Fatir Mosque is now on the site. The Fatir Mosque, on the site of the Church of the Holy Apostles. The baseline, which runs along the main east-west road of the city, called the Mies Road, which formed the main artery of the old city, passing through Theodosius's triumphal arch, continuing on to Thrace and as far as the Balkan Peninsula. The line goes through St. Mokios, which has remains of a temple to Zeus underneath, then through the squares of the four forums, and St. Irene, thought to be the oldest place of Christian worship in Istanbul. The remains of the triumphal arch at the Forum of Theodosius. The remains of the Forum of Theodosius. The Church of St. Irene. A line from the apex, unmarked, through the column of Marcion provides a perpendicular for the triangle. The form of isosceles triangle with a perpendicular occurs very often on leys. This meets the baseline in the square of the Forum Bovis, named after a large statue of an ox, the head of which had been brought from Pergamon. The piazza was situated on the side of the present Ascari Piazza. There are also two other alignments, which go through the base angles of the triangle, which seem to confirm its validity, forming lay centres of the corners. One goes through Christ Pantocrator, the column of Marcion, the monastery of Lips, and the western base angle. The other goes through the Church of the Holy Apostles, the other base angle, very near the Forum and Arch of Theodosius, today the Bayezid Mosque, now marks the corner, to Saints Sergius and Bacchus. The Church of Christ Pantocrator, today the Mosque of Zarek. The significance of the figure seems confirmed by the east-west orientation, the relationship with various roads, in other words the lines seem to be leys, and other alignments leading to the corners. The eastern side of the triangle could point towards Jerusalem. On one of the other maps in the exhibition, the angle of a line joining Constantinople and Jerusalem is 55 degrees, but this discrepancy could be due to the fact that at this distance the line would be a curve. The line also seems to go through Nicaea, where Constantine held the first Christian council, which produced the Nicene Creed. This is the Lefke Gate of Nicaea and the city wall. Side is an ancient city on Turkey's Mediterranean coast. The old town is on a small peninsula jutting out into the sea, containing the remains of the original Roman and Hellenistic port. It was fascinating to note from the city map that the ancient place here seemed to lie on alignments with the mosques in the new town, on the land behind it. The mosques were all relatively new, because the town was abandoned in the 10th century and was not resettled until Turkish migrants from the town of Carnia in Crete came here in the 19th century. They established the village of Selimiye among the ruins. Side was the most important port in Pamphylia, the Mediterranean region whose name meant land of all tribes. It was named after the pomegranate, a symbol of fertility in ancient Anatolian culture, and was for centuries a magnet for people forced to leave their native land due to natural disaster or war. In 547 to 546 BC, when it was under Lycian rule, the region was invaded by the Persians. 2 centuries later, in 334 BC, Alexander the Great arrived, and Side surrendered without a fight. Alexander set up his mint here. After the death of Alexander, Side was ruled successively by the Ptolemies and Seleucids, later winning independence, which continued after Pamphylia became part of the Kingdom of Pergamum in 188 BC. As well as being a wealthy seaport, Side was a centre of culture and scholarship. In 78 BC it became part of the Roman Empire, and although remaining an extensive degree of self-government, and Mark Antony and Cleopatra had a romantic tryst here. During this period it added the slave trade to its already considerable sources of wealth. In the second half of the 3rd century, attacks on Pamphylia by the mountain peoples to the north weakened the city's economy, and new walls were built to protect against these incursions. Under the Byzantines, Side enjoyed a final burst of prosperity before the combination of earthquakes, piracy, and Arab incursions eventually caused the city to be entirely abandoned in the 10th century. According to the Arab geographer Idrisi, writing in 1150, the people of Side migrated westwards to Antalya. The town has an enormous Roman amphitheatre where in 2006 a huge crowd gathered to watch the eclipse of the sun in the company of NASA scientists, and adjoining Agora, which was the slave market. In the Byzantine period, in the 5th and 6th centuries, it was also used as an open-air church. By the harbour are the remains of the temples of Apollo and Athena, which were demolished to build a Christian church and a bishop's palace, but the Christian basilica surrounding the site is now also ruined. Several columns of the Apollo temple were re-erected in recent times. The Christian Basilica. A mosque in the southeast of the new town is on the alignment of the main street of the old town, and this line passes through the centre of the amphitheatre. The street leading south from the mosque is also coincident with it, and there are 6 crossroads on the 2 coincident stretches. A mosque in the north-east of the new town seems to have 2 alignments, each of which skirt an edge of the amphitheatre, much as leys do with camps and hill forts in Britain. One of these lines goes through the Vespasian Gate, and the other goes to the Roman temples. The Vespasian Gate of the Old Town. A mosque in the Old Town is on another amphitheatre skirting lay, which goes to the temple and the Vespasian Gate. This line can be seen in the aerial picture. It also goes through 2 coincident road stretches, one of which is a Roman colonnaded road, and a main crossroads in the new town. The Roman colonnaded road. The new and old places of worship on these alignments, the mosques, the temples with their later Christian basilica, and even the amphitheatre, which was used as a church, seem further evidence for the theory that places of worship of all kinds are subconsciously sited on leys, and that the system is a living, self-repairing and worldwide one. All places of worship are important to it.